welcome to Debbie's Back Porch. So glad to have you here tonight. It's Sunday evening, and in many parts of the world, Sunday evening means fried chicken. And several of the people in the groups on Facebook have been asking for a video on fried chicken, so I thought I would make one. I don't fry chicken a lot anymore. There are most of the time only two of us. Fried chicken's kind of a big to-do for just two people, but I decided we deserved it. We both like it. And it's not that much trouble. So I'm going to fry some chicken in cast iron, of course. But I want to talk a little bit about food in general. Before I cook something for you, I go on the internet, I go on TV, I look for videos, instructionals, tutorials, because I'm always ready to learn something. And while I've been cooking chicken, frying chicken, for over 40 years, well over 40 years, I'm always ready to learn something new. And so I love Martha Stewart, I love Julia Child. I learn something new at least once a week about cooking, still from people who know more than I do. And I was really kind of surprised about what I saw about chicken. I surfed around, I looked at about a dozen people making fried chicken, and boy, they don't like chicken. They like pepper. They like pepper sauce. They like sriracha. They like Louisiana hot sauce. They like to kick it up. And my thought was, but chicken's good. If you prepare it right, chicken's good without that. And if you feel the need for all of that on your chicken, it may be because you've not been cooking real food, you've not been slow cooking, you've not learned to appreciate the flavor of real food cooked right. So my thought is, and I actually have recently reread a book called In Defense of Food by Michael Pollan, and he talks about eating real food, and his rules for eating are eat food, not too much, mostly plants. But he will admit that the trick is to know what food is, because when you go to the grocery store, you're very often buying food-like products instead of food. And if you go for fast food, you're never getting food. You're always getting food-like products. And so it may be that folks have come so far away from frying real chicken, cooking real food, that they're longing for the flavor, and they kick it up a notch with something hot and spicy in order to get that flavor they've been craving. We've spent a generation to a generation and a half eating food-like products. We have many people who've never experienced eating real food cooked from scratch with ingredients. And it takes a while for folks to realize that if you just, instead of kicking it up a notch, you dial it back a little, you're going to get some delicate, wonderful flavors that you can enhance with some spices and herbs, but you don't have to cover up or kick up. So we're going to make some southern fried chicken. I'm going to make it pretty much the way I've made it for decades. If you want to kick it up, you can. We're not going to tonight. And I suggest that just once you try cooking it slowly from scratch in a cast iron skillet with lard or some oil other than corn oil or vegetable oil. Try grapeseed oil, try sunflower oil. And then let's see what it tastes like and see how much you enjoy it. And then we'll fry something else for you or bake something that's real food and let you try that too. So I'm going to turn it over now to the handy dandy prep crew, and they're going to show you how to get ready, because it does take a little prep and they're hard workers. Go prep crew. Okay, here we go. Tools of the trade. This is my Griswold skillet, and I love it. This is my Cadco electric cast iron burner, and I love it to can on. I'm learning to cook on it. So the last couple of times I've used it, I've had trouble getting my oil the way I wanted it. So we're going to test it pretty closely here. The crew showed you the chicken. I skinned it. People say, oh no, you don't skin it because then it loses its flavor, or it loses its moisture. Have you looked at chicken skin? It doesn't cover the chicken. It's just pieces hanging on. It doesn't retain the moisture. It turns into little hard fried bits. I take it off. If you want to leave it on, you can leave it on, but I always skin my chicken. We brined it in about 2 tablespoons full of kosher salt in this bowl full of water. We let it brine in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours, and then we take it out 20 minutes before we get ready to cook it. Meat needs to come to room temperature. Now understand, I'm not saying you need to leave food out. I'm saying for 20 minutes before you cook it, you need to let its temperature rise, come close to room temperature. What we have it in right now, which I don't think you can actually see it, is buttermilk. And this is just plain old buttermilk that you get from the store. You don't have to do buttermilk, and I don't always do buttermilk. You can make an egg wash out of regular milk and an egg beaten in it. I rarely do that. The breading will stick if you just use water. But what I did was rinse this chicken carefully, not to splash, of the brine, and then I patted it dry and put it in the bowl and covered it in buttermilk, and you saw the crew do that. I'm going to add very little to this, and I'm going to move this so you can see what I'm doing, I hope. You could put your little bit of seasoning that we're going to use in the flour. I actually put it directly on the chicken. And we're going to use just a tad more salt because I did wash it off, and I do want some salt in the flavor. And I have here some garlic powder. The reason I'm using garlic powder instead of fresh garlic is because it will spread out more, and when I've tried using fresh garlic, somebody gets a big old piece of garlic because of the way we're cooking. So I use garlic powder, and I use a good bit. I don't want to drown it, but I do like the garlic flavor all the way through. I'm going to check my oil here to make sure it's hot enough because we're getting ready to fry. It doesn't take very long. You can check it by dropping a little liquid. It's not hot enough. You need to hear a little sizzle. Oh, there we go. The oil temperature is pretty important, and I don't mean you have to stick a thermometer into it, although you can. The oil temperature is pretty important because it's what determines the crispness of the crust. What I have here is 2 cups of flour, all-purpose flour. This is self-rising flour. You can use all-purpose flour. I like to use self-rising flour. It makes a good crust. Let's check it again. Yeah, it's getting there. I lay the chicken out, and I want to let it lay on the breading just a little. I'm sorry, I didn't finish telling you. That's all-purpose self-rising flour, 2 cups, and then about a half a cup of matzo meal. I long ago stopped using cornmeal for breading because I don't like the color it gives food, but I do like the little bit of crispness that you get from it. And so I've switched to matzo meal or panko crumbs. Either one gives you the crispness without the burned look that you often get with cornmeal. Now the breading that you get is not as dependent on this preparation as it is on how you cook it. That's why we're waiting for this oil to get good and hot. But I don't want the chicken to burn when I put it in, so I'm letting it come to temperature. And when I put the chicken in, I will put it in slowly, one piece at a time, because the chicken is cold. Even though I let it come back to room temperature, it's colder than the oil, and it will lower the temperature as you add it. I usually use a 12-inch skillet, but I don't have a lot of chicken here, so I think the 10-inch is big enough. I might still have to do 2 loads. All I have here are legs and thighs. We like legs and thighs. If you cook a breast, you're probably going to have to cut it in half, because if you see the difference in the size of these 2 pieces of meat and you want to try to get them done close to the same time, you don't want to burn one and have the other one raw. So I'm going to start with a thigh, and I'm going to put the presentation side down, the big side, the biggest side. Excuse me. And hopefully we're hot enough here. Yes, see the sizzle. Mark the sizzle. I see I should have gone ahead and gotten out my 12-inch skillet, but it just means that we'll have a relay. We'll cook some, and then we'll cook some more. You really don't want it to be touching. You can touch a little bit, but you'd rather it didn't. Okay, I'm going to cook those 4 pieces, and then I'll come back and cook these 4. And this is way more than Fred and I will eat, but we sometimes eat a piece of fried chicken as a midnight snack. I'll refrigerate it, and we can heat it and eat it later. We enjoy it. We just don't have it very often. Now, the trick to frying is to leave it alone. You put it in, and I'm going to turn it up just a little bit more. And this is a really good cast iron skillet. This is a Griswold. You can't get a better cast iron skillet. Let's don't start that argument. And almost nothing sticks to it. But if you put your chicken in with the breading on it, the breading is not set yet. And you want the breading to solidify, to form a crust before you touch the chicken. Because if I go to turn it now, it's going to pull the breading off. And I want the breading to come off. That's one of the ways that you cook fried food so that it doesn't retain so much grease and oil. You let the crust form a crust before you fool with it. Now, it's chicken, and I always cover chicken to cook it. I think that if you fry it hot enough to get it done without a lid, without a cover, then you're frying it too hot to have a flaky, tender crust. The chicken's kind of thick. You want the heat to go all the way through it, so you cover it. Now for 10 minutes I'm going to go away and leave this alone. You don't have to wait with me. I'm going to wipe a little of this flour up. And in 10 minutes I'm going to come back and I should have a nice crust. We're not going to look at it. The way you tell it's cooking properly is the sound. If you hear a nice sizzle going, not a loud sizzle, a nice sizzle, you hear it continuously, you know that your chicken's cooking properly. Listen to it. If it gets too loud and you hear popping, your heat's too high. So we'll be back shortly and we'll do some more chicken. I have no idea if you can hear the differences in the sounds. It's been about 8 minutes, not quite 10. But if you can hear it, the sizzle's getting deeper. So I'm going to take a peek. You know, you're changing the temperature every time you do this. And it's not rocket science, but it is science. Ah, okay. Can you see the brown around the edges? I'm going to zoom it in just a little. Sorry for the jiggle. You can see the bottom crust. And you push a little bit. That one hasn't let go yet. That one has. And that one hasn't. So we're going to give it another minute. What I was doing was a gentle push to see if it's let go of the skillet yet. That's how you know that a crust is formed. Got another minute. Okay, I'm going to try it again. And I've gotten my handy dandy old, decades old spatula. And I'm going to gently push under. This is let go. And flip the chicken. See that nice golden brown? It's let go. I don't mean to overstate that, but that's when you turn it. It's when it lets go. And there's no other way to tell you it's not stuck to the skillet anymore. If at some point you think you're going to have not enough oil to come all the way up and get a crunch, and that may be here, may be happening here, we'll see. Then you can add a little more oil, but or lard, but you have to do it slowly because you don't want your temperature to come down. Covering again. Be back in another 10 minutes. Can you hear that? Without taking off the cover, I can tell it's time to turn it. Okay. Now I generally turn it one more time. Let's see if it's loose. Well, let me get my... Make sure it's loose. Same process the second side as the first. Now I'm kind of looking it over. I want to make sure that we have done chicken. I don't want raw chicken. Nobody wants raw chicken. And some of it needs to be down in the oil a little bit more. Turn it around so I can get a hold of it right. And yes, I'm propping it up a little bit because I want to make sure that the part that wasn't fully covered by the oil is also done. But I want you to look at that chicken leg, at that nice crispy crunch. This is not hard. It's a tender crust, but it is a crust. I'll cover it again. I'm going to add a little more oil before I put the next batch in. This will be done in about 5. Okay, it's time to see what we have. fried chicken. You can smell it, you can hear it. Pretty soon you can taste it. And do what I always do if you've seen me fry food. I lift it and shake it. I'm going to cook that just a little bit more. I'm not real happy with the doneness of it. I think it's done, but I want just a little more crunch. Maybe 2 more minutes. We'll come back. All done. Now I have 4 more pieces to cook. I'm going to add just a little more shortening. Oil, lard, whatever you're using. And then put the other 4 pieces in. I should have used my 12-inch, but I didn't. Okay. Shake, shake, shake. And drain. Shake, shake, shake. And drain. Now I want to take a minute and show you what we've got here. I need a fork because I won't be able to do this without tasting it. I'm going to pull the chicken breast off, the chicken thigh out. Make sure you can see it. There we go. I know it's kind of hard on a video. My lighting's never wonderful to see the crust, but I want you to see this is crispy. This is not hard, but it's crispy. It's going to crunch when you bite into it, and it's done. It's done all the way through. It'll be done right to the bone, and you won't have to bite through a hard crust to get to that wonderful chicken. And I'm going to get to it right now. It's probably too hot to bite. Can you hear the crunch? I'm going to fry the rest of it. And I hope you fry you some tomorrow. Thank you for joining us tonight on Debbie's Back Porch for Sunday Fried Chicken. Our next meal will be bacon fried cabbage and pretty soon a sweet potato cobbler. I hope you join us for that.